Hello, my name is Miss Romano, and I'm one of the art teachers at Ferris High School. Today I'm going to show you how to take tissue paper and make Mexican cutout flags, which you can string together and make these pretty banners to decorate your home. Let's get started. These are the supplies you're going to need to make the Mexican flags. You will need tissue paper. The size you choose is up to you. Depends how large you want your flags. This sheet is a 6x9, and the flags I have behind me are a little larger. They're 9x13. But today for the demonstration, I'm going to work on a smaller size. Just make sure whatever size you choose that the shape is rectangular. You're also going to need a pair of scissors. I like these small sharp scissors. You're going to need string or yarn to string up your flags into the banner. I used white yarn, but anything will work. And then you will need a glue stick or tape. And that's again for you when you string up the flags into your banner. Both work, and I'll show you how to do both. Okay, so let's start making our flag. For the purpose of this demonstration, I'm using two pieces of tissue paper. One is lighter than the other. And this is so you can see the difference between the front and the back, because it can get a little confusing. Because tissue paper is so thin, you can cut a few flags at a time. I have cut up into 4 sheets at a time. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take the top and fold it over about 1/2 inch. And this is where your string is going to go later. And then you want to turn it over, and we're going to fold the paper in half. And then we're going to fold it in thirds. Okay, and then you're gonna fold it one more time in half. Okay, so this is the top where your string is gonna go through. So right now we're gonna cut the bottom. We're gonna cut this scalloped edge. So what you need to do is cut a half circle, just like that. And then in order to make the hole in the middle, we're going to cut a half circle. So it should look like that. And when you open it up, you have your pretty scalloped bottom. So the next part we're gonna work on is the circular design in the middle of our flag. So what you're going to do is fold it in half again. And then you're gonna take the bottom and you're gonna fold it up to the top. Now we want to be very careful not to cut this area, because this is the scalloped edge that you just cut, but also this is the top where you're going to put your string. So you want to stay away from that area. Now this corner right here, that's the middle of your flag. That's where we're going to make this part. But before we do that, we need to fold it again. So we're going to take the bottom and fold it up to the side. And it should form a triangle. And then we're going to do it again. Okay, now turn it over, and you can see this area right here. That's where we're going to cut. We can't cut here or anywhere higher because that's where our edge and our top is. So we're just going to cut right here. So the first thing you're going to do is cut the point off, and that's going to make this middle circle. And then we're going to very carefully, and make sure you're holding all your pieces of tissue together tightly. We're going to cut a half circle, and then we're going to cut a half circle again on the other side. So it should look like that. Okay, now we're going to cut more half circles above on these two sides. And you can play around with the shape if you want to make them look more like a teardrop. And we're going to make a little one right there. So our piece looks like this. And when we open it up, make sure you open it up slowly. We don't want it to rip. So we get that pretty middle circular design. Okay, and you can see that. So it's very much like folding and cutting snowflakes. So now we have these two empty areas on the side. We're going to cut them. So again, we're going to fold flag in half, and then we're going to take the bottom and fold it up to the top. So now we just want to cut out this area. So we're going to take the side and we're going to fold it up until where we have our design cut. So you're just folding over a little piece, and then we're going to fold it over a second time. Make sure you crease like that. And so we're just going to cut right here in this area. Again, we don't want to cut this because that's where we're putting our string through. So I'm going to cut one half circle, and you can make it as small, as large as you want. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a little triangular shape so that there's some variety in the shape. Pull that out, so it should look like that. And then when we open it up, have pretty designs along the side. So it's very symmetrical. Okay, so now that we have our flag made, the next step is to iron it. And because we folded it so many times, you can see there are a lot of creases. So we want to take a dry iron, meaning there's no water in it and we're not using any steam. And you just want to gently run the iron a few times over the paper. And I just have a piece of paper towel to protect the table, but and you want to be very gentle with this step because you don't want to rip any of your holes. So I'm just going back and forth. And I'm just going to give it another press all over there. And you should be able to get most of the creases out. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so now that we have our flags cut and ironed, we're ready to string them together into a banner. So I'm going to show you two ways you can do this. One is with the glue stick and one is with tape. So the first one I'm going to do is with glue. So we're going to fold over open up that top crease that we made in the beginning. And I have my white yarn. I'm going to leave a little tail at the end. And then I'm going to pull out enough to go across. And I'm going to gently run my glue stick along the top. And when you work with glue sticks, you have to work pretty quickly and just being careful not to rip the tissue paper. And then I'm going to lay down my yarn and fold that piece over. And just gently apply a little pressure. And there's your first flag for your banner. And then I'm going to do the same, but this time I'm going to use tape. So I'm going to leave a little space in between the flags. I would say about 1 inch. I don't want too much space. I'm going to open up the top part of the flag. I'm going to lay down my yarn, fold it back over on top. And depending on how long your flag is, I like to use, I have to cut this. So I'm going to use one piece of tape there. and one piece of tape there. So 2 in the middle, and then I'm going to put 2 on the ends as well. Okay, and that's the start of your banner. I hope you enjoyed this craft, and I hope you fill up your homes with lots of pretty banners. Have a good day.